Thank you again for joining us today. This is our third Brick by Brick conversation. My name is Caroline Hurteau. I'm the project manager for Albion Reinvestment Corporation. These Brick by Brick conversations have been focused around the pieces and what we like to call bricks of a strong, thriving community. We've had two conversations so far. In March, we discussed why investing in small towns even really matters, especially in today's world when we are more connected than ever. In April, we explored the role of anchor institutions like healthcare facilities, community foundations, and higher education institutions, and the role that they play in community revitalization. I hope that if you've attended one of those conversations or had an opportunity to go back and watch, that you've left the conversation feeling excited or motivated, or even a bit more knowledgeable about some of these bits and pieces that help build a thriving community. And this series is not meant to cover all the important aspects of thriving communities. These were ones we felt were maybe some of the bigger pillars, and some that we could have really fruitful conversations around as well. I am particularly excited to hear from today's speakers with the focus on small business and entrepreneurship. We have a speaker panel of all women, which I'm excited about, and there are mostly women on this phone call. So I think that goes to show just a little bit who's showing up, which is awesome. And I always have great women mentors in my life, and love to have those types of conversations. So our topic or our conversation today will feature Amy Deprez, President and CEO of the Albion Economic Development Corporation, Dr. Vicki Baker, Professor of Economics and Management at Albion College, and the new Director of the Albion College Community Collaborative, and Regina Campbell, who is the President and CEO of Build Institute, located in the city of Detroit. Over the past year, we've really been reminded of the value and importance of our small businesses, from Main Street to essential manufacturing businesses to the corner grocery store. We all had those moments where we weren't comfortable going into Meijer, but we were okay stopping into the local bakery or the local corner store to get those things that we needed when we were trying to stay home and stay safe. So we've all been reminded, and it's my hope that we continue to elevate small businesses in our communities because they are so incredibly valuable. And it's not just the pandemic that reminded us, and it's not the reason that we're talking about small businesses today. Small businesses and budding entrepreneurs have a great ability to make a meaningful, lasting, and large impact on communities like Albion and many others across the state and across our country. This topic is particularly exciting for me, and one that I feel like I could talk about all day. But you didn't join today's conversation to hear me talk. And so at this time, I'll turn it over to our featured speakers. And we're going to start with Amy Deprez with the Albion Economic Development Corporation.
Thank you, Caroline, and thank you for including the EDC on this conversation. Small business and entrepreneurship is such a critical component of any healthy community or infrastructure within the community. They are a major reason for creating jobs, but they're local jobs. So they give diversity and options to the community members that might not want to drive to a neighboring community, and they can work right here. Small businesses increase our tax base. So that increase in tax base, we feel in so many ways. The increase in police force, services that the community has to offer. So those are the probably the easiest. Why should we have small business in a community that you can think of? But there's so many more. You know, having a small business or having a thriving small business community, it increases our ability to tap into that market for local decisions and partnerships and collaborations. So getting those small business owners involved in boards and councils, commissions, that bring that viewpoint forward is critical to having those conversations revolve around entrepreneurship and small business. It also really helps create the identity for our community. You know, Albion is done a lot in the last several years to be revitalized and to come back. There's still a ways to go, but they've made a great stride in becoming this cultural center of music and arts and all of that. And small business plays a part in that. You know, it helps create that destination place. If you think about some places that you like to go, probably you were shopping in their downtown and you met a friendly individual, you know, so that feel creates that destination kind of feel for wanting to go back and visit it. Small business and entrepreneurs go beyond that. And as Caroline mentioned with COVID taught us a lot. COVID taught us that we can get anything we want delivered to our front door. And there it is. We don't even have to start our car and go out. So when we think about that and we think about what we need to fill the downtown or to fill the retail buildings here in our community, we want to think of it as a you know, what's most needed and take that into account. You know, if we can easily buy it on the internet, what's going to draw people to Albion to come and shop or to come and view a business or be a part of a business? So all of those aspects come into play when we're looking at why, as the Economic Development Corporation, is entrepreneurship for small business it's so incredibly important. And in the past, the EDC has kind of taken a one-size-fits-most approach, and that was to partner with the small business development centers that are around the state. And for the most part, that works really, really well. But what we found is the more marginalized societies don't trust that route. They don't trust government. They don't trust, you know, working with a Kalamazoo regional center. So we have to find a way to tap into that, because the other part of COVID and understanding that retail mix has to represent our community. So we have to make sure that there's services and assistance available to all the community. So the EDC, and I'm hoping the majority of you have already seen this out in the public, the EDC has launched a Dream Build Rise program that is targeted at women and minority-owned businesses. And it's basically a very customized approach to entrepreneurship. And it includes a 5-week curriculum that's very intense. It'll include creating an environment around those entrepreneurs that's supportive, that creates time and space for them to interact together, whether that's in an incubator or others. But it's important to look at this from the perspective of what, you know, my board thought of when we decided to kind of shift gears. Entrepreneurship is that important, and we have to, I mean, if you think about it, small business really is the backbone of a community. They're the creators of those jobs. They create that destination. They create that feel in a community, and lack of those businesses creates a whole nother feel, and we don't want that. So the board made it very clear that this is as a priority, and we have shifted gears recently. And this, the Dream Build Rise, is actually a collaborative event or collaborative process with two other consultants. One is Justin Ander out of Battle Creek. He does a very similar program there. And then Albion's own Boss Up is included in that. And that's two individuals that have kind of come up through entrepreneurship on their own and are using their expertise to help others. So between the three of our groups, hopefully we tap into the market that's out there that's you know, selling those hot plates up the back door, and instead get them operating in a small business mind and opening a storefront if that's appropriate. So the EDC is very excited to be part of this conversation. We think it's extremely an exciting time to be a part of the collective discussion. And we want to make sure that we are giving as much time and energy as we can to all the people that want to start businesses and give them the step up that they need.
Thank you, Amy. And I was hoping you were going to share about the Dream Build Rise Albion program that's newly up and running and accepting applications at this time. But I think what I was hearing you say is that small businesses add a unique, for lack of a better word, flavor to our communities and really help us create identity, which is, I think, something we can all pick out in other places that we've visited because there are unique businesses there that have created that sort of look and feel of the community or the neighborhood or the block, whatever it might be. Small businesses add that really unique aspect to a lot of our communities, which Albion has so much character and so many identities overlapping and complementing each other. One of our identities is that we have a 4-year liberal arts institution smack dab in the middle of town. And that has been a continued journey of partnership and collaboration. And so I will now turn it over to Dr. Vicki Baker, who is leading a new initiative on campus called Albion Community Collaborative. And though not directly connected to entrepreneurship, the support that they may be offering small businesses, I think will be of interest to you all. So go ahead and take it away, Vicki.
Thank you so much, Caroline. I appreciate it. It's so nice to see everyone's faces and smiles on this almost end of month of May, which is craziness. So I'm thrilled to be a part of this panel and this discussion. Also having my proud mama moment watching Caroline do her thing. I can still remember her on her first day at Albion. And I can even tell you the seat she was sitting in Bobbitt Auditorium when she asked me her first question. So it's lovely to be here and to just see her doing amazing things and her family doing amazing things in the community and being able to collaborate in this way. And as Caroline had mentioned, I have assumed a new role on campus. So in addition to being a professor of economics and management, and I just wrapped my 14th year, which is very hard for me to believe. Just under a year ago, I accepted the role of director of a new initiative at the college called the Albion College Community Collaborative, which is a mouthful, which is why we call it AC3 for short. And essentially, it is an experiential learning lab in which students serve as management consultants in support of community organizations. And so the goal is to really, a lesson that I try to teach in my management classes as we think about what does business education look like and mean in the context of a liberal arts college. We think of it a little differently, right? And so it's really this lesson of doing well and doing good at the same time, that you can thrive as an organization, you can be profitable, but you can also be contributing to the communities with which you have and seek membership. And that in and of itself is an organizational value and something that is a differentiator and something that can help support organizational thriving. And so I really see AC3 as situated at the intersection of that, right? So I have responsibility both for ensuring student learning and student engagement and teaching these really critical lessons that are focused on this notion of doing well and doing good at the same time. But this opportunity also allows us to support community organizations and to rethink what this college community collaboration can and should look like moving forward, at least in the context of this. And so we officially launch in the fall, but we've been pretty active in the spring semester as we've been engaging students in pilot initiatives, building the infrastructure of AC3, starting to take on community clients. I know some of you had heard from my intern in the spring semester, Leah Denson, who was starting to get an idea of what community organizations are out there, what are your needs. So we can be really thoughtful about what this looks like. The hope is really supporting local businesses, right? Community organizations that have a need, right? There's an organizational challenge that potentially they're facing. And of course, there are many as we come off the heels of this pandemic, and hopefully we start moving forward in a positive trajectory, which I think we are starting to, but there's still going to be some bumps along the road. Hopefully we're also reestablishing, I hate to use the term a new normal, but a new way of working and collaborating together that hopefully is even more fruitful than it was prior to the pandemic. And so what we're really focused on, again, is giving the students an opportunity to engage in the community rebirth. As Amy had mentioned, there's been a lot of strides and efforts already underway and some amazing progress that's happening. And I see AC3 is playing an important role in that, both from student engagement and helping them to solidify a commitment to supporting the community that they have membership in for 4 years of their existence, to also maybe see Albion as a great opportunity for incubating some business ideas, right? I know Brittany and Laurel and Eddie and Robin all know we've got some students who are creative with entrepreneurial mindsets and are ready and willing to test some ideas. So maybe we can refine some skills in AC3, get them partnering with community organizations, and then thinking about ways that they can contribute in thoughtful, meaningful ways moving forward. And so I really look at AC3 as, how can we collaborate to support student learning through engagement? And then how does that also result in community thriving and community growth, organizational growth and learning? So I'm really super excited about this initiative. We will have a physical location downtown. So that bank building, that first floor, will be renovated. We will hopefully be fully online in the fall semester, but that's going to be the AC3 space. So you'll see students in there regularly working and engaging. Clients will be able to come in there, but we don't just want organization or community organizations as clients. We really want organizational community organizations as partners, and we can see that transpire in a variety of ways. So again, I'm excited about this notion of small business and entrepreneurship and the importance of that situated in a community like Albion. And I have what I call kind of the catbird seat, this really unique perspective to be able to think thoughtfully about how do we engage students in that process? How do we bring those innovative, creative ideas, that excitement, to providing some benefit and service to these community organizations, but also we've got some amazing community entrepreneurs that the students can benefit by participating with and collaborating with and learning from. So this is just a really exciting time to be at Albion College and to be pursuing initiatives like this. So happy to answer questions, and I know we'll have some more discussion as we go, but just wanted to introduce that and give you a little bit of background. And again, thank Caroline for organizing this discussion and for including me on this panel.
Thank you, Vicki. I don't even think I could tell you the seat that I was sitting in Babbitt, but I'm not surprised that you could tell me. But I'm excited about AC3 and its location downtown and the ability for students to have more of a long-term connection with businesses and nonprofits in the city of Albion. And we'll come back to that idea of how we foster entrepreneurs while they are students at Albion College, and provide them opportunities to incubate and find Albion as their home to start a successful business. We'll continue that conversation after we hear from Regina and Campbell from Build Institute.
Thanks for having me on this panel, Caroline. Just to share a real quick story, y'all. So when Caroline, we know one another from the Detroit days. I was at Tech Town and she was doing some work there at Challenge Detroit. But I'm also familiar with Albion. So when I was an undergrad, I went to Western Michigan. One of my close friends of years, we played a sorority together. She's from Albion. And so in college, we would go, her parents owned a small soul food restaurant. And so we would go up there often to Albion and have some fun and eat some really great food. And so I was excited to reconnect with Caroline, but also to hear what you all are doing in Albion. And a lot of what you said, Dr. Vicki and Amy, just really, I want to just put exclamation marks around the value of small businesses. Particularly, I've been in a small businesses for the past 20 years in economic development. But I've always loved towns and cities and local shopping, going into retail stores and record shops, and just the uniqueness of the character that each storefront brought always just warmed my heart. And so at 16, it was sort of like, oh, I want to help Detroit revitalize. And so got into the path of economic development. And so for me, a lot of what has already been said, small businesses, they are the backbone of all of our communities. In particular, what drove me to economic development was the job creation that local small businesses do for our communities. I actually worked in a small retail shop at the age of 16, and I love seeing people go in and out of restaurants and bakeries and retail stores and do what I like to say. So the planner side of me says that our small businesses is where we can see community building and revitalization happening, right? So you have your local residents going in, enjoying coffee or a baked good and shopping and having conversation. And then you have those visitors coming into those spaces, meeting new people and engaging. And so literally we found in Detroit and other places where I've lived, it is those small businesses where people begin to rebuild community and relationship and support. So small businesses do a number of things for us, around tax space, around creating local jobs. But at the end of the day, they're making neighbors become friends and visitors become friends in ways that there aren't any other sort of institutional way in which that kind of activity happens. So we know that COVID in particular also helped sort of lift the conversation about the value add for small business and entrepreneurship, right? So there were these things called essential services. But I know for about a year of COVID, I was in Memphis, and then we're came back to Detroit. Essential services started saying, hey, y'all, where are food and restaurants? Where is that bakery that I want to go into? What about the hair salon and the barbers, right? And so the importance of small business and the investment into small businesses is a topic and conversation that we're having, in Detroit a lot and across the country. And we're seeing philanthropy in our cities and our economic development corporations begin to say, hey, y'all, we've got to support these micro businesses in our towns and in our cities. And so at Build Institute, we have entrepreneurial education that is supporting them with taking their ideas into the marketplace. And many of you were saying about incubation and acceleration. We have an incubation space at the pilot as well, at our spot as well, so they can come in, do proof of concept, which we're known for being able to help people with a marketplace to sell product, customer discovery, and a variety of things. And that's so important. And then also the Kiva, we have what's called the Kiva Capital, which, fun fact, Build Institute was actually the first place where Kiva was launched in the United States. And so we have the largest portfolio, and our footprint extends across the state for those who are interested in accessing capital through Kiva. So again, I'm a fan of small businesses. I love to go in small businesses. The unique character of small businesses excite me when I travel. I'm like, where are the local stores? Where's, of course, the local bakery with great coffee? But where are the stores? Where can I go get some uniqueness and experience the food and culture of towns and cities? And you can't outsource local entrepreneurs, and so that's the beauty of it. And I'm excited to be a part of this panel, excited to learn from you all and what you're doing. It's definitely a fun time for what Amy and Dr. Vicki were just sharing. So I'm looking forward to getting out and coming to Albion and experiencing, again, the culture and the local businesses.
We will happily welcome you back to Albion, and I hope that you both find things that are familiar from your college days, but also new things that are exciting. And I think we can probably offer you both of that, Regina. So thank you very much. I just put in the chat for those of you who are joining us on your computer, the link to Build Institute's website, the link to the Dream Build Rise Albion, and then a brief article on Albion College Community Collaborative, just for your perusing after this conversation. I suspect many of us will dig through some of these resources at a later date, but I did want you to have those. So we're going to kick off the conversation. I've got a few questions to ask, and then I want to open it up to the group, and we'll have sort of an organic conversation for the next 25 minutes or so. So I think we heard from each of our panelists that there's sort of this culture around small business and entrepreneurship, and my first question is, how can we as a community foster that culture of small business and entrepreneurship as individuals or as business owners that are already there. And maybe this question is mostly for Regina and Amy, thinking about how we make that culture feel welcoming to new businesses and build that network among small business owners who really do need each other from the day-to-day operations. And sometimes you just need somebody to accept a delivery for you because you've got one more thing than you planned on your plate today. So how do we start and foster that culture of collaboration between small businesses and supporting new entrepreneurs in our community?
I'll take a stab at that. I think, that was a broad question. I think there's so much we can do as individuals. We don't have to be a business owner to leave a mark. As an individual, if we spend our money at local businesses, a larger percentage of that stays in our community. If we spend our money at a business that is not a local, that's going to be sending that deposit off to headquarters, we're reducing that. And then when we have to leave our business and leak opportunity out, we're losing even more opportunity. So by supporting what we have is probably the first and easiest way to do that. And then it builds from there, because the more that we see the friendly faces into the business as a bakery owner or as the coffee shop, whatever it is, I think it's contagious. I think it was Regina that said that that's really where the connections are made. I think one thing that small businesses do in a community that we don't often think about is that they do build those relationships and that they are the connectors. Quite often you can go into a small business and learn more about the community than you do through your email. So it's making sure that that we're supporting what's there, that we're tapping into the expertise that's there. But really that infrastructure, that environment that you talk about, that's really where we want to take Dream, Build, Rise. We want to make sure that environment is there. We get so busy in our everyday world, and the things that actually have merit, like relationship building, get pushed down just because there's 10 other things that are on fire in front of you and need to be taken care of. But if we take the time to nurture that entrepreneur, and that entrepreneur sees benefit and they end up opening a small business, and then we get more small businesses, that creates a ripple effect that others will see and say, wow, that must be a really welcoming community. That must have look at all these successful businesses. So I think it's an onus on all of us to support what we have. But in addition to that we're tapping into that asset when we can, and providing it infrastructure and the support that we're able to.
And if I could, add to what Amy just said, definitely being agreeable about shopping local. One of the things, though, I know to say that is an easy thing to say, because sometimes sort of the products or services that community residents need aren't necessarily in the community, which creates an opportunity for new small businesses to be attracted. I think there's ways that as individuals or groups, you can do creative campaigns. I know, for example, for about a month in Detroit, our fellowship did a 8 miles under 8, where within a certain area of Detroit, we literally looked for specific type of businesses or services that residents said they wanted. Everything from children's clothing, which at that time my sons were younger, and I literally had to do online shopping or children's place. That's not local, right? And so I think there's ways that community can say, let's look at all that's here that is local businesses, and sort of do a campaign to let community know that this is where you can go for your coffee, for your baked goods, for your kids' clothing, right? And so on the other end, where there are sort of gaps in products and services, these are businesses that the community said they want. and for these aspiring entrepreneurs and communities, sort of, share that information with them. Because for all we know, some things we find, people are doing home-based businesses, and we may not know that they're providing a service to a small group of folks, and we can help them scale. So in the question, Caroline, there's a lot of different things, I think, to sort of get to what you're talking about and how we as individuals can help support both sort of individual and collaborative. And I know the AC3, what you're talking about, Dr. Vicki and Amy, what you all are talking about will also help with some of those catalytic opportunities for existing business owners. And then finally, I'd like to add, it's a common challenge for many of the small businesses around sort of workforce and labor, right? It's like we do the investments of capital, but also entrepreneurial education and coaching. And then when it comes time, particularly for some of the food restaurants, they have trouble hiring. And so, I know in Memphis and Detroit, we're talking about this, what we call a workforce aggregator, which is you might as well say the back office for these small business owners who need, whether it be an accountant or they need someone to sort of HR and hire sort of these individuals who could one day go work in a retail store. The next day, they go work over in the restaurant. But really just thinking of creative ways to support these small business owners. I think that's one way that the day-to-day busyness can help bring them together when there's sort of this central solution that can help them solve for operations and other needs. It helps them come together as a business community.
Caroline, do you mind if I jump in there? Because Regina just said something that I think is really thoughtful and helps me be thinking about AC3, right? So our students are there to both learn from the community organizations and entrepreneurs and business owners, but also to add value. And what you just described, right? HR needs, help with maybe training and some operations organization. That's an opportunity where AC3 and the students that are engaged in AC3 can provide some value, right? Maybe they are partnering with a community organization that needs some support. So for instance, I'll tell you, one of our clients is Walk the Beat with Cliff Harris, and he came on with us at the end of spring, got a team of students working with him now, and that's going to be a continued partnership. But things that my students have been able to do for him is, right, help to recruit more teachers to teach the music lessons, to help provide a greater awareness with local school districts. And they've researched the local school districts and the main points of contact to help communicate that information. But we also put together an HR policy and practices around background checks and onboarding the teachers. And here is the appropriate steps to follow. So what you just described is certainly an opportunity for AC3 to come in and to provide some additional human capital that maybe the organizations don't have, right? Like they have so many individuals that they have working for them, and those individuals are being stretched across a variety of functional areas within the organization, and maybe they don't have the time and or the expertise or the resources to be able to craft a training program for new hires or to craft an onboarding experience. Or maybe they can assist with helping some marketing planning, or again, creation of flyers. I mean, you all in the community may have seen that cash and carry event, that one-day cash and carry event. That was the result of a team of students working with the Cutler Center on campus to create the flyer, to create the social media, to do the advertising, to help organize the inventory, to help price the inventory, and to get the word out. So what you, Amy and Regina, both just described, but then there's definitely opportunities for the students in AC3 to come in and to be that additional human resources and to be that additional subject matter expertise that can support community organizations as they're seeking to advance.
Yeah, Regina, the sort of talent aggregator and that idea of cross-training employees of organizations and small businesses, I think you could walk into any business in downtown Albion and they will absolutely tell you that they've struggled to find the right people for a various number of roles in their organization, whether it be on the nonprofit side of things, the food business side of things, the retail, and I don't think that's unique to COVID. I think COVID has maybe put a microscope over some of these things, but finding talent and support and capacity it's continuing to be challenging. And I know in my work, I see it in this next generation of leaders in our community, much like Detroit and the entire state of Michigan. Albion had a significant brain drain of talent leaving our community for a long period of time. And so this next generation of leaders who's willing to step up to the plate and open a small business or purchase a building and rehab it, or lead a nonprofit or sit on a board has continued to be a challenge. And we want our small businesses to be involved, but they are also sometimes the person who has to open the door and close the door at the end of the day. And you get into that idea of, are you working in the business or are you working on the business sort of idea? And if you're the entrepreneur, you want to be working on your business to grow and make it thrive and make it stable. But sometimes working in the business is all you have the capacity to do, because you need to be there to open the door, you're mopping the floor, or you have to do the payroll. And that all comes with being an entrepreneur. And some entrepreneurs thrive and they love that. But I think the idea of being able to cross-train people across an organization is really interesting. So I'll be looking for more information on that talent aggregator, Regina. I'd love to hear more about that. I've got a couple more questions on my plate, but I do want to open it up to our participants. If you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself. Please do introduce yourself. If you prefer not to unmute, go ahead and drop something in the chat and I can ask it to the group. Of course, I could talk about it all day, but I'm sure some other people on the call have questions as well.
I do have a question. My name is Barbara Welch, and I'm a real estate developer with a small real estate development project called Albion Charming Homes. I purchased some land from Albion College, and we have 4 home sites, and we have been marketing those homes since November of 2020. When I came into Albion, my husband is an alum, and so we knew of Albion, and he's always loved Albion, being an alumni. And when we came to do business with Albion, it was very important for me to do business with professionals there in the city. Being an entrepreneur myself, I understand the importance of that. My question is there any discussion about having a directory or a resource, be it on a website for the city, where businesses like myself who do not reside in Albion can reference as we work to find professionals and other businesses, as we work on our projects?
That's a great question, Barbara. Thank you. And your willingness and commitment to supporting local businesses. I'll let Amy chime in first. I see that she unmuted herself, so I'll go ahead and let you chime in, Amy.
Yeah, and nice to see you, Barbara. I wish I had a great answer for you. I don't. I think there's been iterations of that in the past of, online directories and things like that. And I guess I can kind of say the same thing that Caroline did about working on the business or in the business. Those are the things that would help our community grow. But everybody is so lean right now, we're not getting those things done. So I think that's a great idea. I've taken a note of it. I'm not sure who that house is with, but I do think that the state did a really good job of doing something like that, where you can go on and kind of put your profile. So if I'm a manufacturer and I'm looking for whatever, I can go out and search by keyword, and I know if they're located in Michigan. So we're keeping our dollars here. And there's got to be a way to do that without putting a lot of onus on a department or an organization, and making it more, you know, interactive with those that are filling it out. So, but very useful. And I think that comes into play. I think it was Regina that mentioned, you know, making sure we know who's out there. You know, in my job, I talk to people all the time that have a business idea or that are currently working their business out of their home, and I have no idea that they're doing that. You know, so if I don't have any idea, most people don't. So it's not only creating opportunity for places for them, like the farmers market or a pop-up for them to try their merchandise out and sell it, but it's creating avenues for others to find them. So that's a perfect idea, and I will take it as a direction for us to look into.
And I think something that I've thought a lot about is how we also provide that information to people who may be interested in visiting our community or maybe new residents. And so it's both on the business to business side of the transaction. Can we keep our own business dollars in our community? But it is also the, if somebody chooses to come to Albion, can we capture as many of their dollars as possible? And if somebody is choosing to make Albion their home for a month, 6 months, the rest of their life, can they easily get access to that information of who's the local insurance agent, who's just some of those basics, who's the family practitioner in town, and some of those types of information. We can all go to Google, but we know that Google likes to send us in a lot of different locations. And it's always nice to be sort of in control of our narrative and our brand as a community as much as possible. So yeah.
Caroline and also Amy, Amy's been very helpful with references, as I have, you know, been visiting and working with Albion for the last couple of years now. Also Albion College, in my meetings with them, they were wonderful about giving references. The city of Albion also. So everyone, I think, has been very helpful in, you know, getting me where I need to be. So it's been a great, you know, that's been a great temporary, you know, way to offer those resources and references. So I did want to acknowledge that, the support that has been offered. So thanks so much.
I've got a question. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Caroline. Just one last note on that whole thing. I do know that the chamber was working on a directory, an Albion directory, prior to COVID. Would have been a printed magazine type format. And I think because of COVID and because of all the changes at the chamber, it's definitely has gone to the wayside. So it was something that had been started. It just hadn't been completed. It would certainly be a great resource as she's looking for.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I think now we are reminding ourselves of those things that were not essential in the moment, but are now essential as we emerge. So thanks for reminding us of that, Mike. I wanted to direct a question to Regina based on her experience in slightly larger cities like Memphis and Detroit around the idea of pop-ups and pilots and incubating businesses and offering them that safer place to fail, or an opportunity to fail faster and learn and grow their business. So I'm wondering, Regina, what are some best practices around starting those types of programs? Where might they typically, if there is a typical, where are they living at the chamber, at a nonprofit, something like the EDC? So I'm interested in your thoughts on some of those getting micro businesses started and offering that in that position if they are a retail brick and mortar type of business to get up and running.
So that's a great question, Caroline. So in my experiences in Michigan and then also in Memphis, they can live in a variety of different places. So Nonprofits who have entrepreneurship centers, they may have a pop-up space, like how we have a pop-up space at Build. In Techtown, there were also an area that they would do pop-ups sort of like once a month. So again, those are nonprofits. As far as if you were to talk about an economic development corporation, they could potentially have someone who curates a pop-up, you know, it could be a certain time of the month around something in different themes. So I think it really depends, one, on who has the capacity and interest to pilot and test it. And then maybe someone who wants to own it, you know, in the community, decide to be the ones who, you know, manage and curate the pop-ups. But that being said, there's a variety of ways to do them. I think if we think about a farmer's market, for example, sometimes people can say those are pop-ups. But what we do differently to, aside from, you know, allowing people to come and sell their products, is we do what's called entrepreneur education, right? I know you all have had the experience of going to, you know, whether it's an artist market or a pop-up where there's retail and sometimes food, and then you'll see some of the vendors standing there. The merchandising, the way it's set up may not be aesthetically appealing. So you may not go over there and spend money, but everything probably, the quality is probably good or it might taste great, but something about the visual isn't attracting you. And so we buy with our eyes first. And so we provide entrepreneurial education to help these entrepreneurs understand how to merchandise, how to showcase their products, but also customer interaction, right? So you'll have some vendors who will stand behind the table or whatever it is and don't go out and engage potential customers. Or even if a customer walks to their, let's just say their area, they may just stand there or not know how to interact with them when that person may buy something, or they have the potential to refer someone. So everybody is always an important touch point. So the entrepreneurial education we provide in our like pilot space to help them along the way to do things, while also helping them with the pricing strategy and a sales strategy to test out. So again, it's always important for any type of pop-up, particularly I guess if it's more than sort of one day, making sure you have some entrepreneur education, like helping them be able to show up. That type of education also helps them if they're considering e-commerce or going into a brick and mortar, quite frankly. And so we found that to be very, very, very valuable.
Thanks, Regina. I wanted to circle back to Vicki's brief conversation around supporting entrepreneurs that might be coming out of Albion College. I've always imagined that there has to be more students in the E&M department or across campus that aren't interested in being public accountants. When I was at Albion College, probably more than half of my peers knew that they were going to go into public accounting, and I knew very strongly that that was not for me, but I was not sure what was for me except the business world. And I imagine maybe that's changed. And so I'm interested, Vicki, maybe you can comment, and I know some other members of the Gersacker Institute are here on the call as well. How can Albion, the community, foster a place for college students to consider our community being a place where they would want to pilot, start, and keep a business? Because that's also, you can pilot it here and get started, and then it's easy to say, you know, I'd really rather go to Royal Oak or Kalamazoo, where I feel like I could get more money and it'll be faster and it'll be easier. But how do we get them to start and stay, even if it's just one a year or a couple every other year? What an impact that might have in our Albion community.
Yeah, sure. I think it's about getting the students invested in the community. And in order to get them invested in the community, we need to get them engaged in the community, right? So going back to that comment I made about you can do well and do good at the same time, where you can be profitable and also contribute in really meaningful ways. And so I see AC3 as an opportunity to do that. of course, it makes logical sense, right? And we've got the Gerstacker, and I'm a big fan of Gerstacker, deeply involved with it. And we've got some amazing students that go through that program. But I really want AC3 to be that quintessential liberal arts college experience, right? That if you're a problem solver and have an interest in solving problems, AC3 is the place for you, because this is really looking at for-profit, nonprofit, government, healthcare, public policy, right? All kinds of issues that really require this liberal arts college lens to try to help solve them. And so, you know, I've been really working hard to get the history student in AC3, to get the fine and applied arts student in AC3, to get the science student in AC3, to get the public policy student in AC3. Because we need those types of perspectives to really help solve problems, but also to identify growth opportunities, right? To help us think thoughtfully about what is really needed and how can we help advance those needs in a thoughtful, meaningful way. And so AC3 is really an opportunity. Plus there's other initiatives. I mean, Gerstacker and Ford, and there's all kinds of programs that have students involved. You know, Bonner Build Albion Fellows, AmeriCorps. We've got some great initiatives that are happening. And, you know, we're fortunate being at a small college that we're able to collaborate and partner across those initiatives. And certainly for AC3, AmeriCorps and Bonner Build Albion Fellows has been instrumental in helping us think about how do we support clients and how do we kind of, you know, leverage our talent as well as ensure that we've got talent across these initiatives to support the community. But I'm seeing students through AC3 really invested in building a strong program in AC3 because they really see the impact of us doing good work in AC3 for the community. This isn't just a class project. This is really organizational issues and real business owners and community members' lives and livelihood on the line, and the extent to which their experiences in the community can be really supported. And so I think, again, it goes back to that point of, in order to get students to see the possibility, we need to get them in the community, invested in the community, and putting faces to community challenges and growth opportunities so that they can then think about how they can contribute and add some value in the process. But you know, it's been really eye-opening for myself and the students as they engage. It's like, didn't realize that, you know, this is going to be this much work, or that, you know, the learning curve is really this steep. But man, they're invested, and students are, you know, I'm so sad I'm graduating and I won't be back in the fall to see this. And so I think it's really about getting students invested and engaged in the community and getting them collaborating with community organizations so that it can be a collective effort moving forward. And I can certainly let Laurel, Brittany, or Robin jump in there, because again, Gersta and Eddie, like I said, there's so many initiatives and programs on campus, and we're just so fortunate to have that shared value system. And to, you know, that's certainly not a bad gig for me to be surrounded by these colleagues on a regular basis.
And I will take a moment, if you don't mind, Amy, just to kind of follow up on some things that Vicki said. My name is Laurel Drought. I'm the director of the Gerstacker Business Institute at Albion. So as Vicki said, we get to work very collaboratively on campus. Most of us are located at the Ludington Center. One thing I wanted to mention that I don't think has really been made public, certainly not the details of it, but we are starting a small social innovation fellows program to start bringing students into the mix to think about social challenges that they are passionate about, and taking that, leading that into a business plan. We are at the very, very beginning stages. In fact, I told somebody, one of the applicants recently, that I think we're still in the womb. We are that early. But, you know, I think even for us, we have opportunities to work with the Bonner Build Albion Fellows and seeing if there are opportunities there. I know I have a couple students who are interested in, okay, I want to do something, what might be there? Right now, we don't have funding to move that forward to actually be an incubator. But I do know that Dr. Johnson would love for us to get to that point. And my hope would be that that would bring more attention, and that this program would bring more attention to students wanting to remain in the area. But one of the reasons I love to attend these things is it just starts my head swirling about opportunities and things that we could potentially do, and who could we partner with in different ways. And so I've gotten a few of those things already that I've been taking notes, and you know, I'll be following up with Vicki to put our heads together to think about how could we expand some of the things that we're doing, or better support things that I think might bring more interest in students kind of committing to these projects or programs and seeing them move forward, remaining in the community. So I just wanted to add that.
Thanks, Laurel. And Amy, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that, and I think it was probably Laurel that I talked to in the past. You know, I think we brainstormed about having opportunities to get an intern that's a return intern every year, that they're there for the 4 years, you know, and really getting that buy-in and to the community. And I see so many times that that could be helpful, not only in keeping them here, but when we talk about, you know, I can go to Royal Oak and earn more money and climb to the top faster. If you've already engaged here and you're included in an organization that just so happens is now looking for, you know, senior leadership or a good paying job, you know, now you've got real experience there and you've bought into the community. So I think if we could get something like that, and I see that, you know, AC3 and all of the intern programs and stuff, all of this working together to really fit the need. I mean, workforce is such a critical challenge right now for everybody, everywhere. So, you know, if we can find ways to keep them in the community and keep them involved and aid the businesses at the same time, it'd be such a win-win.
And then if I could just add too, I think it's about the communicating the value add of staying in Albion versus a Royal Oak. I know for Detroit and even in Memphis, we're like, it's a lower cost to entry to starting your business. You know, so you talk about, you know, sort of the assets that are there, the resources that are available in comparison to other cities. And that has served us well in a number of different ways.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think we, again, we've had this conversation partly because of the pandemic and remote work, and can you have a lower cost of living and maybe a higher quality of life in a small community versus a large community and still maintain your job or work remotely. So I'm eager to see if there is an impact in Albion around sort of remote work and families feeling like they can be a little further from some of our big economic centers like Ann Arbor and Kalamazoo, because parents might be going into the office 2 days a week instead of 5 days a week. And I think when we are talking about the community and the college and engaging students, I'm always balancing the scales of Albion College is a part of our Albion community. And there are many people who have been in Albion, the community, for generations, and have made this their home during the best of times and the worst of times. And so it's that balance between making sure that our college students feel engaged and that we want them to be a part of our community, and also making sure that while we're doing that, we're not also inadvertently alienating or sort of pushing aside those who are here and are also willing to invest in their own community or want to and just need that leg up and support. It's that fine balance, and it's something that we've talked about for many years and will continue to talk about, because it will always be this. It's not necessarily a give and take. I think of it as a seesaw. It's just sort of here and there, it goes back and forth, and we'll eventually figure out what the balance is, and then something will change, and there'll be a new balance, and we'll adjust. So I think we could continue to talk about this for another hour, I'm sure. And I've got tons of questions still, but we are at 5:30. So I do want to honor everyone's time. I do want to give our panelists about 15 to 30 seconds if you've got any last minute thoughts that you want to share with the group, or a resource that you want to share with the group, and then I'll do some closing remarks.
I'll give my 15 to 30 seconds to Vicki and Regina. We're here to help.
I will add to that. Yes, we're here to help. And again, as someone who's building a new program in the community, I'm open. Feedback, thoughts, things that we need to be thoughtful and considerate of so that we are appropriately balancing that seesaw that Caroline just described. We want to be a value add, not seen as somebody that's taking value away, right? I want to be thoughtful and honor institutional and community memory while building new knowledge to that. So open to questions, to contacts, to meetings, to conversations, and I'm just excited to be on the panel. Again, thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Regina, and appreciate the time.
Just real quickly, along the theme of here to help, if there's anything that I can do or share as far as a resource or some of the practices that we've done, I'm happy to do that. Thank you for the opportunity to be on this panel. I've learned a lot from you all already and looking forward to engaging more in the future.
Thank you, Amy, Vicki, and Regina. And Regina, once you're in the Albion network, we don't really let you go. So I'm sure somebody will be reaching out, whether it's somebody who's going to watch this later or anyone on today's conversation. We're not going to let you go too far. So just to close it out, I think I've heard a lot today around supporting each other, doing what we can as individuals and leaders of organizations, whether it be a community group or a volunteer or your best friends that you go to dinner with on Friday night, just encouraging that local support and recognizing that our community is full of opportunity and growth and real true character. And that's what makes Albion and all our beloved small communities so unique and so special. So thank you for, I hope you all are taking away something unique from today's conversation. And in closing, when we started the Brick by Brick series in March, it was meant to be a 6-part series. This is our 3rd conversation, and we thought it would continue through August. Unfortunately, today's conversation will be our last for the foreseeable future. My role with Albion Reinvestment Corporation is coming to an end at the end of the week. And we're not sure if the next leadership will take this conversation on, but I do hope that as you are partaking in our community or you're in your own communities, continue to have these conversations about the bricks that build our thriving communities. They happen at the coffee shop, they happen at the brewery, they happen at the grocery store. Right now they may still be happening behind masks and at a slight distance, but I'm eager to get back to sitting at a table with each one of you and having these types of conversations and figuring out how we can continue to work together to move our communities forward. So I appreciate everyone who has joined today's conversation, watched, shared, joined the March and April conversation, and your passion for Albion. You all are here for a reason, and hopefully Albion is a part of that reason. Albion's one of those places that just doesn't let you go once you're in it. So it's a passionate place and it's a special place. So I appreciate everyone's role in making our community what it really is and how unique it is. So with that, I wish you all a safe and happy Memorial Day weekend, and I look forward to seeing you all around town. Have a great afternoon.